welcome to Diecast Restos, for what feels like my first full restoration in ages. My name's Jason, and this dinky little model is indeed a MINI-DINKY. This was a short-lived 1 in 65 scale series that existed in the late 60s. They were produced by Meccano, who also offered the larger Dinky brand. This number 19 MGB formed part of a 19-strong series of models, most of which were made in Hong Kong to keep labour costs low. The MGBs were all painted a pale shade of blue, as mine once was, as you can tell from the inside of the boot and bonnet. While I agree with the former owner who painted it that red is certainly a better colour for an MGB, I will be carefully and faithfully restoring this one back to its original blue shade. As this is my first MINI-DINKY, I wanted to know more about the history of the spin-off brand. The range was introduced by Meccano in 1967 or 68, but production was subcontracted to Hong Kong for the majority of models. There were two Formula 1 cars in the series, the number 60 Cooper and the number 61 Lotus. Both of these were made by Matchbox, later to become FC in the Netherlands. Additionally, there were some licensed construction vehicles and equipment numbered 94 to 99, which may well have been first manufactured by MGB Toys of Italy or Mercury Industries of Canada. These 6 may have been part of a larger range called Lil Toy, and later sold by Gibbs Metal Miniatures. Nonetheless, these were produced in Hong Kong for Meccano. After the MINI-DINKY brand had gone, these 6 models continued to be produced possibly as copies and were sold by Universal Industries under the Kidco, Champ of the Road or Mini-Box series. The 1 in 65 scale models were meant to compete with Matchbox, who had a stronghold on smaller scale vehicles at the time. Catalogues and brochures of the era showed a host of planned models, but what did make it to production included a Ford Corsair, E-Type Jaguar, Corvette Stingray, Ferrari 250 LM, Chevrolet Chevy 2, Ford Mustang, Mercedes 250 SL, Cadillac Coupe de Ville, Fiat 2300 Wagon, Oldsmobile Toronado, and this MGB. All had opening features, mostly just bonnets, but some boots too. Production likely took place in 2 distinct batches, as some models have bare metal base plates, while others have bright plated ones. Hong Kong International or HKI had produced toys for Meccano owner the Lions Group since the mid-1960s, but the quality proved to be poor on early MINI-DINKY models. With inferior metal mixes and poor construction, many suffered from metal fatigue. Some paint jobs were especially haphazard, such as two-tone models receiving visible overspray. The contract was later handed to Zill Enterprises, parent company of Z-Toys and Zilmex, who plated the bases. But by 1970, MINI-DINKY production had come to an end. Some models from the series had their bases retooled and became Top Gear models, which featured in Johnny Lightning 500 race sets. These had a rectangular slot in the base for a catapult mechanism, which could shoot the models along quickly. Some prototype models came to fruition and have been sold in recent years. These include an Aston Martin DB6, Ford GT40, Volkswagen 1600 TL Fastback, Vauxhall Cresta, Jaguar Mark X, Rambler Ambassador, Ford Thunderbird, Chevy Camaro, Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and Ferrari 500 Superfast. Other planned models included a Rover 2000, Ford Zephyr 6, Mercedes 250 SE Saloon, Buick Riviera, Volvo P1800, and a Ferrari F1 racing car, perhaps another from Holland. As for this model, well, it is based on an immediately recognisable MGB, and quite a good scale model it is too. MINI-DINKY managed to get the proportions right, even if the wheels sit a little too inboard. But I can't complain. Wire wheels at this scale as standard is something to admire Meccano for. For many years, there weren't any licensed MGB models reproduced at similar scales to this, so it is a bit of a rarity despite being a very popular line for BMC, and later BL. Production of the MGB lasted 18 years, and over 500,000 of the little sports cars were made. In more recent times, a Johnny Lightning MGB Roadster arrived in 2000, while MINI-DINKY's rival Matchbox only started producing their MGB coupe in 2020. In 1962, the MGB replaced the 7-year-old MGA, something I have worked on for this channel in the past. The Roadster was the first of the MGB range to be produced. It offered better space optimization for passengers and luggage than the MGA, despite having a 7.5cm shorter wheelbase and being 5cm lower. It was, however, 5cm wider, giving it a more squat appearance than its predecessor. The 1.6 litre B-Series 4-cylinder engine was increased to 1798cc, which gave it a slightly higher top speed via a 4-speed gearbox with electrically activated overdrive. In 1965, the Roadster was joined by the fixed-roof GT. Its glass house was styled by Pininfarina and featured a hatchback by combining the sloping rear window with the rear deck lid, making the GT much more practical than its Roadster counterpart. It was also a 2+2 design with a bench rear seat. But aside from this, few components differed between the two models. The GT did receive different suspension springs and anti-roll bars, as well as a more serviceable windscreen. Acceleration was slower than the Roadster due to its increased weight, but due to its aerodynamic form, it actually had a higher top speed of 105 miles per hour. A number of changes were made during 1967. The MGC was introduced that year, available in both Roadster and coupe body styles, which was equipped with the BMC C-Series 2.9 litre straight 6. This gifted it a 120 mile per hour top speed and could do 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. To accommodate this larger engine unit, a number of changes needed to be made to the engine bay and floor pan. Externally though, it differed only slightly with a bonnet bulge. This had different brakes, larger 15-inch wheels, a lower geared rack and pinion steering, and a special torsion bar with telescopic dampers. It was available with the overdrive manual or a 3-speed automatic transmission. The heavier engine and new suspension changed the driving dynamics, meaning the C received a mixed response by automotive journalists. After less than 2 years in production, the MGC was dropped. The MGB also saw changes in late 1967, enough so that MG declared the 1968 model a Mark II. These changes included new gearboxes with revised ratios and synchromesh in all 4 gears, or the optional automatic transmission as seen in the C, which weirdly wasn't an option available outside the UK, a particularly odd choice for the US market. There was also a new rear axle, an alternator in place of the dynamo, and a significantly altered floor pan to house the gearbox changes. The US models also had a safety mandated plastic and foam rubber dashboard fitted, along with dual circuit brakes. Rose style wheels replaced the pressed steel wheels, and in 1969, reclining seats were standardised, with high backed seats and headrests, side marker lamps were introduced, and in the US, 3 wipers replaced the 2 of old due to regulations there. A new recessed black aluminium grille followed in 1970, though the polished grille would return in 1973 with a black honeycomb insert. That year would also see the introduction of the GT V8, equipped with Rover's 3.5 litre V8, offering the car a top speed of 125 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 7.7 seconds. Thanks to its aluminium block and head, the V8 actually weighed 20 kilos less than the original straight 4 unit. Unlike the MGC, the V8 did not require the same chassis changes or handling sacrifices. The MGB GT V8 was only available in right-hand drive. It was never made for left-hand drive export. Production of this ran until 1976. US regs spelt the end of the chrome bumpers in 1974, as oversized rubber replaced them, with the front also incorporating the design of the grille. US headlight regulations also meant the car's lamps were too low. So British Leyland rectified this by raising the car's ride height by 1 inch. Naturally, this and the heavier bumpers resulted in far poorer handling. BL would close the Abingdon factory where the MGB was made in 1980, and the decision was taken to cease production of the car and not replace it. Just shy of 525,000 were built in 18 years of production. I don't have time to tell you about the 1992 to 1995 MG RV8s, which used 5% MGB carryover parts and 20% improved MGB parts in its construction, nor the MGB spiritual successor, the MGF, which arrived in 1995. Well, here we are then, arriving back where we started with this repainted MINI-DINKY MGB, in what has been a whirlwind of an episode. A previous owner had quite carefully painted over the original blue, but the finish was far from the best, and it had begun chipping away. I do like the indicator and light cluster detailing though. I wanted to restore this to originality, plus add in the extra front indicator, headlight and door handle trim. Models came with brake lights painted from factory I believe, but here it is now, absolutely gleaming. I'm really impressed by just how well the grille, bumpers and connecting base plates have polished up, considering their penchant for metalworm. Unfortunately, the damaged window actually snapped during cleaning, but I've managed to salvage it so that it doesn't look too unsightly. I was just glad to receive one at all. I imagine many of these ended up without one as it's so exposed on the model. Those wire wheels certainly scrubbed up well, and I really like the look of them, even if they are that little bit too inboard. So what do you make of my first foray into MINI-DINKY? If I can get my hands on them, would you like to see more? Let me know by leaving a comment and drop a like if you would be so kind too. If you aren't subscribed already, please do so that you can stay on track with all of my latest works. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.